back. Oh yeah. Are you ready? Everybody, can you jump this way with us? Your kids, your parents, and all the people at the back. Wanna see your hands up, let me see you stick them up, and everybody do the clap back. It's here, it's now. Yeah, we're gonna know how. From the front to the back, let me see your hands up, and everybody do the clap clap. Here we go. Go, go. Everybody jump in. Go, 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 go. Oh no, let's say that. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Brilliant. Here we go.
Flabbergasted, been blasted by your love, Lord. By your love, love, love. I'm flabbergasted, been blasted by your love, Lord. By your love, love, love. When life is just a little puzzle, I'm in a heap of trouble. My head is spinning round and around. My world has gone whoopsie daisy. It just feels completely crazy. I know that you are there for me. When my plans are far derailed, you're someone who never fails. Pick me up and start me over. Life has knocked me to the ground. Will I smile or will I frown? Oh, oh, oh. I am flabbergasted, been blasted by your love, Lord. By your love, love, love. I am flabbergasted, been blasted by your love, Lord.
Are you ready to stomp your feet? Stomp your feet. Clap your hands. Roll your hips. Everybody scream. Stomp your feet. Clap your hands. Roll your hips. Everybody scream. Go, go. See your hands in the air. Go, go, clap, clap. Go, 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 go. Oh yeah. Go, 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 go. Clap, clap. Go, 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 go. When my plans fall fail.
When my plans are far derailed, you're someone who never fails. Pick me up and start me over. Life has knocked me to the ground. Will I smile or will I frown? Oh, oh, oh.
Flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted, been blasted by your love, Lord. By your love, love, love. I'm flabbergasted, been blasted by your love, Lord.
Are you ready to stomp your feet? Stomp your feet. Clap your hands. Roll your hips. Everybody scream. Stomp your feet. Clap your hands. Roll your hips. Everybody ladies, fellas, ladies, fellas, ladies, fellas, ladies, fellas. Oh yeah, your kids, your parents, and all the people at the back. Wanna see your hands up? Let me see you stick them up, and everybody do the clap back. Come on, it's here, it's now. Yeah, we can learn so how. From the front to the back, let me see your hands up, and everybody put your hands in the air. Go, 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 clap back. Go, 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 clap back. Go, 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 clap back. Go, 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 clap back.
Flabbergasted.
Hello everyone, welcome to Children's Church.
Well, over the last few months, we have been learning about the book of John and all the incredible things that Jesus did that's recorded there by his really good friend John. So we've learned about him turning water into wine at a wedding, about how he healed lots of people, fed loads of people, how he walked on water, and he did many amazing things. And now we're going to look at the end of Jesus' life, as it's recorded in John and in the other three Gospels as well. So at this point in the story, the religious leaders were scheming and plotting against Jesus to try and catch him out, and they were planning to arrest him, to convict him, and to sentence him to death. So we're going to find out how that happened today.
Remember everyone, the one I kissed, the one you've come to arrest. Deep chair.
Do what you came for, friend.
No! Ah, my ear!
Enough! Put your sword away. All who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you really think I need you to defend me? There are legions of angels who'd be here in an instant if I called for them. The scriptures predicting my death must be fulfilled. Am I leading a rebellion? You've come here with weapons to capture me, but every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you didn't arrest me. This has all taken place so that the writings of the prophets will come true.
Come on, let's get him.
Back off, you lot.
Tie him up.
Here, hold this.
Let's go.
We did it!
You're not going to be spreading your lies anymore.
So, Jesus has been arrested. Well, what happened next is a rather sad tale of grown-ups behaving badly. You might say they made mistakes, but I don't think so. I think they made bad choices. First, he was taken to the religious leaders, and they had been plotting and scheming against Jesus for some time now. They didn't like him. He wasn't who they thought a Messiah should be. And plus, he was telling them all the ways that they were getting it wrong. And so they ended up accusing him of claiming to be God, which he'd done. He was, but they couldn't see it. And so they accused him of blasphemy, which is claiming to be God. And having done that, well, they should really have carried out the punishment themselves. That's what it said in their law, and that's what happened to Stephen if you read in Acts. But rather than doing that, they decided to get the Romans to do it for him, to try and make things more humiliating perhaps for Jesus, to try and stop people from trying to follow him perhaps. So they dragged him off to the local Roman governor, whose name was Pontius Pilate. Now, they accused him in front of Pilate of something slightly different. They said he's the king of the Jews. He's claiming he's the king of the Jews, which was a bit different because the Romans wouldn't have been so interested that he was claiming to be God, but they would have been a little bit put out if there was something in their kingdom claiming to be a king. But Pilate questioned Jesus for quite a long time, and he couldn't find that he was guilty of the charges that were brought against him. In the end, Luke tells us that he sent him across to Herod, and Herod found the same. He questioned him for a while and couldn't find any reason to find him guilty, sent him back to Pilate. So Pilate tried to say, well, I can't punish this man. There's nothing to accuse him of. But the religious leaders were insistent, and by now the crowds were gathering, and there was pressure to have Jesus punished. And after some time, he tried to claim that he was innocent. He even tried and literally washed his hands of the whole thing, and said it's nothing to do with me. It's not my fault that he's going to be punished. But it was still his decision to let him be punished. He was the governor. He could have said, no, this man shouldn't be punished. But he bowed to the pressure of the religious leaders and of the crowd. And the crowd, well, they were sort of whipped up by the religious leaders, but they still all went along together and shouted that he should be crucified. Perhaps didn't really stop to think about what was really going on, but just went along with what the whole crowd was doing. And we might imagine that some of these people were the same people who were welcoming Jesus into Jerusalem when he came in on the back of a donkey, and now they were shouting for him to be crucified. And then there's Peter, and this is a really sad part of the story because Jesus had said to Peter before he was even arrested that, before the cock crows, before dawn, you're going to deny me 3 times. You're going to say that you don't know me. And Peter said, no, I won't, Lord. I won't. He was a very close friend of Jesus. And Jesus, knew what a man he could be and what he could do. But now Jesus had been arrested. Peter was scared. He was worried. And people were noticing. They were seeing who he was and asking him, weren't you with Jesus? And he denied it. He said, no, I wasn't with Jesus. No, I didn't know him. And he did this 3 times. And then on the 3rd time, the cock crowed. And he remembered what Jesus said. And the Bible tells us that he wept bitterly. He was so sad when he realized what he had done. And I expect that probably made him all the more determined later on to never deny Jesus again and to spread the name of Jesus to as many people as he could. So we have these 4 examples. And when I look at them, and I look at myself, I think, well, have I ever just been so stuck in my way of doing things that I've not accepted the way other people do them, and I've put other people down? Have I ever thought that something was wrong, but just gone along with it anyway because everyone else was pressuring me into doing it? Have I ever just gone along with what everyone else was doing? Perhaps bullied someone? Yeah, I have in my life. And have I ever denied something or lied about something just because it was convenient for me at the time and I felt like it would stop me getting in trouble? And I've done all these things in some sort of way, and I begin to realize that we all have done bad things. We all desperately need Jesus and what he can do for us, his forgiveness, his love. And well, the next part of the story shows us how he did this for us, how he puts things right and breaks that separation that the sin, that the wrong puts between us and God. And Jesus dealt with it. Let's find out how he did it.
They nailed Jesus to a cross. Father, forgive them, Jesus gasped. They don't know, they don't understand what they're doing. You say you've come to rescue us, people shouted. You can't even rescue yourself. But they were wrong. Jesus could have rescued himself. A legion of angels could have flown to his side if he'd called. If you're really the Son of God, you could just climb down off that cross. And of course they were right. Jesus could have just climbed down. Actually, he could have just said a word and made it all stop. Like the time when he healed the little girl and stilled the storm and fed by 1,000 people. But Jesus stayed. You see, they didn't understand. It wasn't the nails that kept Jesus there. It was love. Papa? Cried Jesus frantically, searching the sky. Papa, where are you? Don't leave me. For the first time, and the last, when he spoke, nothing happened. Just horrible, endless silence. God didn't answer. He turned away from his own body. Tears rolled down Jesus' face. The face of the one who could wipe every tear away from every eye. Even though it was midday, a dreadful darkness covered the face of the world. The sun could not shine. The earth trembled and quaked. And the great mountain shook. Rocks split in two until it seemed that the whole world would break. The creation itself would tear apart. The full force of the storm of God's anger. Sin was coming down on his own son instead of his people. It was the only way God could destroy sin and not destroy the human. Jesus shouted in a loud voice, "It is all finished!" And it was. He had done it. Jesus had rescued the whole world. Father, Jesus cried, I give you my life. And with that, and with a great sigh, he Strange clouds and shadows filled the sky. Purple, orange, black, like a breeze.
Please.
Jesus' friends carried Jesus. They laid Jesus on a new tomb carved out of the rock. How could Jesus die? What had gone wrong? What did it mean? They didn't know anything anymore, except that they did know that their hearts were breaking. That's the end of Jesus, the leader said. But just to be sure, they sent strong soldiers to guard the tomb. They hauled a huge stone in front of the door of the tomb, so that no one could get in. The end.
Question 1. How did Judas show the soldiers who Jesus was? A. By pointing. B. By grabbing his ear. Or C. By kissing him. That's it, it was C. By kissing him.
Question 2. Why did Jesus let himself be arrested? A. He had no choice. B. So the predictions about him would come true. Or C. He thought it would be fun. That's right, it's B. Question 3. What did the Jewish leaders accuse Jesus of? A. Breaking lockdown. B. Rioting at the temple. Or C. Claiming to be God. Yes, it's C.
Question 4. Jesus was questioned by a Roman leader called A. Driver, B. Captain, C. Pilate. And the answer is C. Pilate.
Question 5. But why? Why did Jesus do all this? Well, to find out the answer, we're going to need a time machine. Whoa! We've gone way, way back. Right back to the beginning of, well, everything. It looks like this is Adam and Eve, the very first people. They've just disobeyed God for the first time and eaten some fruit they were told not to. God had good reasons for not wanting them to eat it. It means God can't be with them like he had been, and they have to leave the special garden God had made for them. Before they left, God said to Satan, disguised as the snake who talked them into eating the fruit, that he would make him an enemy of Eve's descendant. That means one of her children. Anyway, and that Satan would hurt that descendant, but the descendant would destroy Satan. Right back at the beginning, when things had only just gone wrong, God had a plan to put it right again. Okay, we've jumped forward to a man called Abraham. He was God's friend. Abraham wanted a family, and even though he and his wife were way too old to have children, God promised them a son, and they had one. Hooray! But, slight catch. So, in those days, they couldn't just say sorry to God. They had to give him things called sacrifices, as a way to make up for all the bad things they'd done. One day, God told Abraham that he needed him to give him a super special sacrifice, his son Isaac. That meant Abraham would have to kill him. Abraham always tried to do what God told him, so he took Isaac and he went off to sacrifice him. "Stop!" God said, and he gave him a sheep to sacrifice instead. God didn't want Abraham to have to sacrifice his only son. It wouldn't have even been a big enough sacrifice to put right all the wrong things. God's plan was to sacrifice his own son, Jesus. That would be enough to put everyone's wrong things right. Whoa! Okay, we've jumped again. Right, we seem to be in Egypt now. Oh, I know, we're here to meet Moses. So, Abraham's great-grandsons ended up in Egypt, and over the course of many years, their families became slaves for the Egyptian people. But God didn't want his people to be in a bad situation. He didn't want them being slaves forever. So, his big rescue plan involved breaking them out of there. So, what he did, he got one of his people, this is Moses, into the Egyptian palace as a prince, then out of Egypt altogether. Then he sent him back to Egypt to get everyone out, and they all did the hokey cokey. No, wait, that's a whole different thing. Anyway, so God told Moses to tell the Pharaoh, that's like the Egyptian king, to let all the people go. Pharaoh didn't want to, so he said no. A whole bunch of bad stuff happened to the Egyptians, but Pharaoh kept saying no. So God told all the Israelites, that's Abraham's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, anyway, to get ready to go and to make a special sacrifice of a lamb to keep them safe, and to put the blood from the lamb on their door frames to show that they were God's friends. That night, all the firstborn sons of the Egyptians died, but God's friends were all safe because the lamb had died instead of them. One day, God would send his own firstborn son to be the sacrifice to keep all his friends safe. There are lots of other times in the Old Testament, that's the before Jesus bit of the Bible, where things happen that show us hints about God's plan. That's so we can look back and go, aha, and know that Jesus must be what God had planned all this time, because he's been telling us about it all along. It's like having all the pieces of a puzzle and putting them together and finding out it's a giant picture of Jesus.
Jesus, sorry for the bad choices we made. Thank you for dying on the cross to forgive our sins. Amen.
Right, well, one of the ways that we can remember how Jesus died for us is when we share bread and juice together, which we've sometimes done in church, and we've done quite a few times during online church, and that's a great way to remember Jesus. So we're just going to do it now to show you what happens, and then maybe it's something that you can do with your family at home. So we're just going to all share some bread together. It doesn't have to be bread. It could be a cracker like we're using or something like that. Say thank you, Jesus, for dying on the cross and giving your body for us. And then once we've had the bread, or the crackers we had, we're all going to share a little drink together to remember Jesus' blood shed for us on the cross. So this is something that Jesus did before he died with his disciples, and he asked us to do the same, to remember all the amazing thing that he did for us when he died on the cross. So I just encourage you, particularly around Easter time, find some time maybe with your family to share this meal together and remember Jesus. Right, well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you've learned something. And remember that this isn't the end of the story. So join us next week to find out what happened next, having an all-together service as a church. So come and join us for that next Sunday. Great to see you.
Bye. Bye.